Okay, so Heidi, thank you. Thanks for having this conversation with me. And I love the fact that here we are just talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden this stuff comes out. So, you know what? Isn't that interesting the way that works? There was something that you said earlier when you were talking about how when we come together as a collective and how the energy comes together. And now I'm messing it up. Say that again. Would you say that again? Remember what I'm talking about?
About our collective agreement.
Yeah,
Oh,
because we were talking about bridging between the generations of the old, because behold, I'm doing a new thing. That's my Isaiah 43:18 and 19. Let go of the former things because behold, I'm doing a new thing. And you were talking about how it's kind of tough being the bridge. So let's start from there.
so a couple things. One is that just opening up the conversation
Mhm.
between people, just being curious and asking the questions, having the wonder and the wonderment
Oh, the
is what
wonder.
begins to unlock it.
Yes.
These things that we've considered quite childish are powerhouses, and they are the fields through which wisdom
Mm,
manifests things on the earth. So
yeah.
joy and wonder are these power places which in which things get unlocked. So it's like, what did you do? I had a conversation, but heaven sees it as unlocking, unraveling, undoing. Sometimes we think that if I spend an hour in prayer and then I go and break things down, that's where it happens. But a lot of it happens just in conversation.
Like with what happened to us just now.
Right. The
Um,
logos, so the logos comes forth. The Christ in me ministers to the Christ in you, and there's a witness, and
yeah.
then a testimony gets built.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we need each other.
Yes, it's that witness, right? Yes. And is that the witness that's talked about in Revelations? Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Ah,
That's a good question.
yeah. So, okay. So let me ask you this, or I was talking to you about, some of your unique capabilities, and you were talking about the importance, how you click with the importance of unique capabilities. Will you say that again? Will you share that again?
Well, for me, I feel like the idea of conscience and how does that how does that interweave into what does it mean to actually have power on the earth and to have God's power and glory revealed? So
Mm,
it's tied to the fact that each person must be a unique expression, their unique expression, and embracing their uniqueness
yeah.
is very important in order for God's fullness of glory to be released on the earth.
Mm,
And this is one thing that WOW is so great at hosting,
yes.
because it's like, let's cover all these independent churches and not mess with their unique expression. And so
Yeah.
that's macro. They take it to the micro, and it's like, I'm not to mess with the unique expression of my children, but to
Mm,
cover them. I'm
yeah.
not to mess with the unique expression of my spouse, but to cover them. I'm
Mhm.
not to mess with the unique expression of a gift or a business, but to cover them. And so the if the conscience within the individual person isn't awakened, they
Mm,
will not engage in their unique expression. There will be a desire for conformity. There will be a desire to just follow someone else's rules.
mhm,
And that is not governance.
mhm. Yeah.
That
That,
is not governance. You are relinquishing your governance,
mhm.
right? And so, in order to have governance and your unique expression, another piece that is required is to take responsibility for
Yes.
you and your life. Because if things are only happening to you, you are not governing anything.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so good. Immediately, I went really big and went to Jacob and Esau. And, Esau didn't take his responsibility as the firstborn,
Right.
and he gave up his birthright because of the responsibility. I'm going to assume he didn't value it. he didn't value it at the level that he needed to. And so, okay, so I just went really big and global on that sort of thing. But then also too, as Kirby's been teaching in WOW about the crossing, the crossing of the hands. And it's like, okay, so if you're not going to take responsibility for your gift or for what I've given you or how I've created you and your identity, if you're not going to take responsibility that for the fact that I created you a certain way, then, okay, I may have to, that work still needs to get done
Mhm.
and it needs to still come into the earth. And so I may have to take that and put it over here. But originally, I wanted you to do it. I mean, the Lord told me one time, was like, well, Rose, I'm sorry, you were second choice. Will you still do? And I'm like, yes. I felt like I was back at prom or homecoming. But anyway, but I know that's a little retarded. But so, okay, so when you're talking about this, Heidi, it makes me think of okay, so when you're talking about the whole governance piece, so what do you think is challenging people to to govern properly over their gift or to see things manifested through their unique expression?
I, well, I think for me, I think we're really, really, maybe in North America, it's really hard to talk to because I mean, I've had my life. My dad was a pastor. I grew up. And so all of the garbage that goes with that, all of the baggage, all of the trauma, all of that. But for me, I'm reaching places of freedom when I'm willing to own everything that has happened.
Mm,
We want to be co-creators with God. We want to be powerful, but we don't want to take responsibility for all of it because part of it is there's been so much blame.
yeah.
Responsibility is not the same as blame.
Mm,
Blame disempowers, responsibility empowers,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's, you cannot govern something you have relinquished.
Mm, yes.
It,
Mm,
by the very act and nature and position and intention, you are letting someone else govern it. E-
mm,
Even if this is even tied into the ledger,
yeah.
because I cannot claim I am owed without reflecting on how have I at some point, the only
Yes.
reason, this is what I would say, the only reason that thing had a purchase point in my life, the only reason that injustice had a purchase point in my life, because there was somewhere to get a purchase point.
Mhm.
And I need to recognize, where was that purchase point? Where have I thought unfairly? Where have I in my heart judged unfairly? Maybe, of course, the scales may be different, but there's a place in me
Yeah.
that has allowed for that injustice and has cooperated at some level.
Yeah. Because of being, seeing it as and being a victim. And so you were starting to tell me about the story about the kids.
Yeah. So this, if we don't activate our conscience, because our conscience is so sovereign,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
God does not ask anybody's permission. He's sovereign. He has a will and a conscience. And
Right.
our conscience, a lot of times, is like, think about school, do what you're told.
Hmm.
Don't listen to your conscience and behave accordingly. So I think a lot of times as parents and the way we interact, the way the church has interacted is just do what your leader tells you. Tell me
Hmm.
what to do. Tell me what the right thing is to do. So we've relinquished the conscience
Right.
and scandalized it a little bit too. So I had kids at the house a few weeks ago. They were arguing. And my daughter has been taught to ask, I ask her the question when she encounters something even profoundly unjust, the question is, what can you own?
Mhm.
Because that reveals her level of maturity
Yeah.
and it reveals the perception of the issue. And so two of these boys had never been to my house before. So the question was like, I can see the blank stare on their face because I'm not coming at them saying, you need to do this, and you need to say sorry for this, and you need to, even though I heard the whole thing, what
Mhm.
am I going to do? Am I going to impose
Mhm.
or develop these people honoring their conscience and asking it to wake up?
Yeah, for
The
sure.
question is, what can you own? So
Yeah.
Maddie's like, well, I can own that I did this and I reacted this way. And the boys are like, one boy was like, I did nothing. I can't own anything. And that's okay. Because
Mhm.
he's never been asked that question before. He's only been told, you're
Right.
doing this wrong, and you're doing this, and you're doing this, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
he's like, I guess so. Like for the first time, it's like, wait,
Yeah.
I, and then when you take the blame away, they can begin to expand into the space.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's so good. That is beautiful because then you can start to pay attention and see clearer the feedback that the universe is giving you. And you can start to own that feedback and you can start to tweak your process because you're learning, you're practicing and you're learning how to like take feedback from that plastic tree in the corner. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like from the full body of Christ that's going to bring us feedback and then we can start tweaking things and going from okay, so like there's this graphic that I have that it shows like how a victim on this end of the scale will be entitled, and then on this end of the scale it's a victim. Like there's this victim mode, and then this side of the scale is entitled, and right smack in the middle is humility,
Mhm.
and how humility balances that out. So when you're talking about taking responsibility and owning it, there's that technology of humility in there, you know? And as you start to own more things in how you're responding or whatever, you increase in your capability and it uncovers your identity. It starts to clean off. You're the
Yes.
truest you.
Yes. Yes. It is a dynamic process that is sort of this multi-dimensional, but you have to engage. Like, if you want power in your life,
Yes.
you must take responsibility. And this is not saying you are being blamed for injustice. It is not the same.
Yeah.
I have had profoundly unjust things happen to me very recently. But when I shared it with the people I hold the dearest, Kirby and Fiona, they challenged me with the question, what, like, Heidi, you have to own it. And in the moment, that felt unfair.
Yeah.
But they want me to be the most powerful version that I can be on the earth. And I cannot be that, even in an unjust situation, without reflecting, letting that mirror show me something and own what can I own about it. Because
Yeah.
I can own it, I can reflect and unravel, and I can cry out to God and say, this was unfair.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can do both,
Hmm.
but I cannot grow in governance without taking ownership. So if you want the governance, and if we are going to be mature sons, we are led by the Spirit, and the Spirit leads through the conscience.
Yeah.
It has to be awake.
My God. Yes, we have to take responsibility and govern properly, and governing ourselves first and increasing in our humility as a technology to unlock, taking responsibility as to, okay, what do I need to own? But what am I really good? I mean, ownership's on both sides. The things that maybe I didn't do so well, but those
Yep.
things that I do well. both sides. I'm going to own it and take responsibility for it. And so, wow, and I think about, and I'll finish with this, but I think about, I mean, you can finish with it, but when I think about the church, they've outsourced their spirituality to their leader. And then what ends up happening is something happens, they disagree or they whatever, and then they get mad at the leader. And it's like, really? Shouldn't you own your spirituality? And so I think that it's created so much church hurt because they've allowed themselves to be in a situation that they needed to rise up and take ownership of their own life and not outsource it because now they're mad. They're blaming somebody else for their life and how they feel or whatever because they outsourced it when they should have owned it their own selves. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think that it's become deeply cultural,
Mm,
especially in North America,
mhm.
to have a pattern of relinquishing.
Yeah.
And so it needs to be an ongoing conversation. And I think the biggest jolt to that system is waking up someone's conscience,
Yeah.
because then they can say, that doesn't feel right to me. And they can have permission to feel
Mhm.
that feeling.
Yep.
And then when you feel that feeling and you feel the freedom to express that feeling, you can begin to grow. And that cycle begins to unravel. It's really a process of unraveling, right? It's not, our conscience is not a good, bad, devil, angel. It's a very sacred,
Mhm.
autonomous governance
Mhm.
through which we are led by the Holy Spirit. And
Mhm.
it's like the Holy Spirit is muted without a mature conscience.
That's so good.
And so, like, if there's a generation like this young boy who's never been given the freedom,
Yeah.
never been given the space to say, what can you own? What, me? No, no, no. I don't own anything. I didn't have anything to do. I'm just an innocent victim. Well, then you have no authority. None. You have no governance then.
Yeah.
And if you want governance, because guess what? It tastes really good.
Uh-huh.
If you want governance, you have to step forward and saying, well, I did this. That feels kind of good. I'm not being judged. I'm not being blamed. I'm owning something which gives me governance, which causes me to move forward.
Yeah.
It's empowerment. But
Total empowerment.
authority has been used to disempower. That's
Mhm.
been part of the culture. And so it's like, it's an unraveling. And we
Mhm.
need places and groups and people to encourage us.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You can fall flat on your face. It's okay.
Yeah, for
But if
sure.
you say, I didn't fall on my face, what are you talking about? I didn't fall on my face.
Oh gosh.
And you've missed it.
Right. You've missed it.
But we need community and culture where it's like, I fell flat on my face. It's like, yeah, no, I saw that. That was awesome. Let's get up and go again. That's
Exactly.
what we need, right?
Right. We do need that. We need to be okay with, and that's why I say practicing. We're just
Yeah.
practicing, right? We're practicing how to be loving people in the earth,
Yeah.
demonstrating God's love and love. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on a tangent with that, but I won't. And so you're right. I mean, in my opinion, yeah, we need to just practice how to fail forward, as John Maxwell wrote a book on failing forward, right? Oh
Because
my
if you
God.
take the blame off and you take the scandal off, then I can fail publicly
Yes.
within my community
Yeah.
without scandal, which gives me freedom to learn,
Yeah.
freedom to grow, freedom to also share,
Yeah.
freedom to testify, freedom to witness.
Yeah.
All of the sudden, you've unleashed this power, and I
Right.
can be myself.
Yes. Absolutely. And you know what? Thank you. thank you for sharing that in the community so I can learn from you, so I can learn your revelation that you got through, falling on your face. Please let me help pick you up, but please share your revelation of what it was like when you were going down. You know
Right.
what I mean? Oh my gosh. Heidi, thank you.
You're
What a
welcome.
beautiful, beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Anytime.